We will call the December 15th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll start with our agenda review, Bob.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
I'll move the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed. And we'll start with our commissioners' reports on committees. Drew, you ready this morning?
Sure, yeah, if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay, our last board meeting, we got together on Tuesday, December 1st, and then we extended that, or continued that meeting into the evening with our tax and budget hearing. And Bob, you did a good job. Thank you for putting that together. And thank you for all the department heads that came that evening. Wednesday, December 2nd, I just wanted to mention I had the honor of being invited to the United Methodist Women's Luncheon, their annual luncheon, and they enjoyed soups by the commissioner.
You made?
I made 3 soups, yeah. I like to cook, so. And then December 6th, Sunday, I attended along with several of us here, in fact all of us here, wasn't it? The annual AMC conference went from Sunday the 6th through the 8th on Tuesday. Boy, it was foggy going up there. I got up there early evening, I'm telling you. And one of the highlights I wanted to mention that was kind of new was the counties helping counties. And I don't know how many of you took advantage of that. Did you try it at all?
Yep.
Did you? You know, they had about 20 tables set up, mostly counties. And if this is a success, we might repeat this at future, conferences. Each table having their own little topic of things that they can share with other counties and what they're doing. It really worked out well, I thought. And then the title of our conference was One Minnesota. I thought that was great for all the counties to work together. On Wednesday the 9th, I was at the GMG. They hosted a Transportation Commissioner Zelli that was there, and Vance was there. And there was about close to 40 people in the room. A lot of them are local officials and leaders in business from our area. And had a good, he gave a good presentation and talked about the, basically a funding cliff that we're on. And that it's pretty hard to catch up unless there was something more aggressively done with the funding. There's really no money for there's no money for new construction. Many people are looking at, a lot of our legislators are looking at how to provide funding, but it's pretty tough right now. He talked about the bipartisan transportation bill that was passed by our federal government, and let's see here, we've got one comment I would like to make that he did say would have helped things, and that is he said that if we would have indexed the gas tax here in Minnesota, meaning if it would have kept up with the value of the dollar that was put on there, just like we do here with our county, we do a cost of living increase when it's needed, and if that would have been put on there, it would have made quite a difference on our funding for the state for the gas tax. So just wanted to mention that. Then on that same day, I went to the labor union luncheon. Stacy Carrolls, who is our Mankato Building and Trades, what do you call them, business representative or director, manager. There was quite a few people there actually. It was for a luncheon, and Ryan Tilgis represented the county. And then of course I got up and said a few things to him, highlighted some other projects, smaller ones possibly that'll be coming up. And the mayor from City of Mankato was there, and staff, and Representative Clark Johnson, Jack Considine, And there was a gentleman, I can't think of his last name right now, I've got it written down, but Michael something. He works for an organization that I guess promotes the prevailing wage ideas and what it can do for your community to offer livable wages through the prevailing wage. And that in reality, many times it's a difference between 2 and 4% more money sometimes in the project if you use the prevailing wage. So it was interesting to hear his update and his presentation. So we gave them a lot of updates on all the projects that are going on in our region right here around Mankato. And then on the 10th, Thursday, quite a few of us attended BCATO. That's the Blue Earth County Association of Township Officers. And I think it's nice because when I was on another board where I had more access to more commissioners, when I was on the river board too, that was like 37, maybe let's say 30 counties. I found out that our county, is one of the few that does this on a quarterly basis. Even our mayors and clerks, we do try to do almost on a monthly basis. And many of the other counties only meet like once a year. And so it's wonderful that, that the commissioners that we attend and that they have these well-attended meetings. And then, let's see here, December 12th, I went down and joined in with Santa Claus and story time at the library. That was a fun time. There was about 40, 50 children there and a lot of parents. And then yesterday I volunteered at Holy Grounds, which is a downtown service that Centenary Methodist provides for people who are at risk to go someplace warm in the morning for a couple hours. And in fact, if any of you would ever like to volunteer there, you'd be welcome. So, and that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, well.
No, we covered the budget hearing. The second, we had the department head meeting. The third, we had TDS board meeting. And then that evening, I went to the legislative conference at the SCTC over in North Mankato. They had several of the state representatives there. They had some good topics they discussed regarding agriculture. And then on the 6th, I was at the AMC directors meeting up in St. Cloud, and then on the 7th, I chaired the Public Safety Policy Committee. I was elected to the chair for another year. With that, we brought forward our legislative positions from that committee. Then we had the opening session that day. I too attended the resource fair and was very interested in what I saw there. Thank you to Mike and Jesse for talking about our county ambassador program there. And then I had an impromptu conversation regarding buffers at the vendors fair between Chuck Brandel from INS, Kurt Dieter, and Bruce Sellers. And we had a very interesting discussion between the three of them. There's a wealth of knowledge on the new buffer law, and I learned a lot from those guys. And like I said, it was impromptu. After that,
the best part about those conferences,
Yeah.
stuff like that
Yeah,
happens,
it's like
connections.
Yeah, it was just fantastic. Then later that afternoon, I attended one of the work sessions, Children of Incarcerated Parents, very interesting. The presenter brought forth some amazing ideas, things I hadn't even thought about. Then that night we had the awards banquet, and then on the 8th we had the elections. I attended the ditch viewing and redetermination work session, very, very interesting, learned a little more. Then the business meeting. Then on the 9th I attended the transit committee discussion on implementation of the Tri-County transportation system. And then on the 10th, I was at the SWCD board meeting, and then the township officers meeting, and both interesting meetings. And then yesterday I visited with the folks at Crystal Seasons and gave them a briefing on what's going on at the county. So that brings us up to today.
Thank you, Will. Kip?
The truth and taxation hearing was already mentioned. It was also at department head. Had our planning and zoning meeting, which we got several items in front of us today. A couple more solar farms we'll be discussing in a few minutes here. I was also at AMC. Yeah, they had a lot of really good programs up there. Got several different sessions. Went to the one session with dealing with conflict in the boardroom. A lot of good information, but it was kind of stuff we had already heard, but it was good information to have.
Did you bring how we resolved a lot of our conflicts here?
Yeah, we're already doing all of it, so we don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
You didn't tell them about our boxing matches.
But there were several good sessions, and again, it was nice to see two of our employees get recognized, Bob and Patty
man,
both.
yeah,
That was very exciting. And but I thought the AMC did a good job putting that together, and I like the day and a half. You know, before it used to be 2.5 days, and this, I know it's busy. We all got a lot of things to do, but it's nice to just get in there and get the stuff done. And I did also get through the county vendor fair thing too, and talked to several people, and there's some stuff on environmental services. So I stopped down and visited with them for almost the whole time that we had to talk to them. So
I just thought I'd mention, you really liked the way it was laid out and everything. I was on the planning committee. I just
great,
wanted to mention.
good job.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, going a little later in the day is fine, but it's a lot better than holding us over the next day and then getting done at 10:30.
Yeah.
That just works out much better. Then I was also at the township officers meeting. Had an informational meeting on JD9, which we'll see that later today. I caught the end of that. I was at another meeting. Mark and I were at MICA. Things seem to be going along pretty well there. We approved several more of our platform items. We've been taking that in bites instead of trying to do them all in one meeting. So we got several more of those done. Yesterday I was at MRCI meeting. Things are kind of winding down for the month and the year. I ended up having a pretty good year. Candy business still is busy, but we're still struggling with trying to make money with it. So we're working through those issues at this point. And then yesterday we had our review with Amanda up at MVAC, and she's doing a wonderful job up there, and looks like we'll keep her on for another year. So
Great.
other than that, brings me up to date, Mr. Chair.
Mark?
Okay, Mr. Chair, with the truth and taxation and budget on the 1st, then on the 3rd December had our MAPO, the Mankato Area North Mankato Planning Organization, and we did approve, well, I could buy you it's on a computer somewhere, but
That's all right.
our big book, our 30-year transportation, long-range transportation plan. So if you ever, want some excitement, come look at that.
Some midnight reading?
Yes, it's a lot in there, yeah. Obviously, we can change, amended stuff over the time, but yeah, it's finally all together. And then December 4th, I had, we had a CIMRICS meeting. That's a Recycled Joint Powers and Recycling, and that was in Owatonna, but we couldn't get a quorum. So, yeah, that's the first I ever been to. So,
It can happen, I
per
guess.
diem and all, I don't know.
Yeah.
So then we have to reschedule that with our multi-county thing, because more of the people are on both in January. So, because we have to approve a budget, so we have to do that at that point. The December, our AMC, December 8th and 7th and 8th. Yes, the county, we're on the map. We got some great employees got recognized, including our administrator. Then then it caps the our appreciation with Jesse, that group, and Mike, that they did a good job. I was in that impromptu with Will, just the two of us, so just happened to be. Yeah. So with those attorneys with ditches, and that was informative. Yeah, I did catch the one on the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, or whatever, and that looks like it could be our money pit, but we'll see how that goes. And then on, like as Kip said, the 9th we had Micah, and yeah, there's still the question of what the surplus, where it'll all go, and how much transportation would get, and then the metro counties, the more metro counties are wondering about transit, you know, and that's always an interesting topic. Then this last Friday, I went to, well, when you had your township officers, I actually was out. The weather was good though, out collecting food at the Kiwanis Lights for the food shelves plus affordable housing. Right?
Oh, nice.
So, you guys are inside, yeah, having.
Keeping warm.
Anyway.
Everybody was staying warm this last few weeks.
Yeah, wasn't too bad. I didn't have to wear long
bad.
underwear, yeah.
That's more information.
You needed to know, right? Then I had SHAC, the State Community Health Service Advisory Committee that Friday. Last Friday, and that, you know, always had an overview from the health commissioner and talked about putting cannabis into the, you know, as intractable, for use against intractable pain, and so well, that was interesting too. So anyway, that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Well, I've got a long one, just because I did a lot of stuff. So Charlie, I'm going to try to go really fast for you since you're coming up here on time.
No problem.
All right. Well, we already talked about the truth in taxation. The next morning, I flew out to Colorado Springs and attended the NACO Safe and Secure Symposium. As soon as I got there, I went on a tour to the Peterson Air Force Space Command, which, you know, when you sound Space Command, you think, oh, something. Well, it's really more cybersecurity. And it really handles the cybersecurity across the world for the Air Force. And it's pretty amazing what they do. On December 3rd, I attended a crisis communication, which was ensuring accurate public information. I then attended an assessing risk management course. And then a local leadership during disasters speech was Kathleen Koch, who is the author of Rising from Katrina, and she was a CBS news correspondent through Katrina, and she wrote a really amazing book on what happened. And it really showed in her talk is how local leadership really took over there because they weren't getting much from the federal government. And so she really talked about how local leadership made a huge difference in the areas around there. Still that day, I went to local innovations to stop criminalization of mental illness. Really good talk from a judge. I got his name, but and I'm going to be giving it to you, Pat. That has a lot. I think there's a lot of things that we could work right here in Blue Earth County. And then I went on a workshop for the Waldo Canyon fire and flood mitigation. Back in 2012, they had a huge forest fire, and that turned into a huge flood issue because of all the trees that were burned down and what they're doing there. On December 4th, I went to a adaptation of resilience training. I went to a cyber industry expert panel and the board of directors meeting. December 5th again, I went to the board of directors meeting. Then on December 6th, we were at St. Cloud. So I went to the Ag and Rural Development Advisory Committee. It's interesting where we say it's a day and a half. Really, for some of us, including Will, was more like 2 days because Will, in fact, started before I did. I mean, the Ag and Rural Development was at 5, and I think yours was at 2. So you went more than 2 days because it didn't get over until 3 o'clock on Tuesday. December 7th, I went to my Transportation and Infrastructure Policy Committee. Really some issues across the state of Minnesota on how we're going to raise transportation funding. And so we had a lot of good discussion. I went, a keynote speaker was Connecting with People in a Gadget Crazed World by Thon Singer. He was really pretty interesting. pretty good guy. Then we had the Association of County Administrators, where Bob got surprised with his award. That was pretty exciting. In the afternoon, I went to an Understanding Oil Transportation, and how they're transporting oil throughout the state of Minnesota on the rail, and the dangers that we as local officials and stuff have to work on that. Still that afternoon, I went to Children of Incarcerated Parents. I think, who else was? You were in that. In fact, weren't you?
I went to one of those once, but I didn't go to this
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay. So really, the whole conference was really good for the whole county, I think. Then, switch panels here. On the 9th, we had the MnDOT Commissioners Roundtable, and a lot of us attended that. Drew and Bob and me, and let's see, Kip, were you there? No. Anyway, you've already talked about that, Drew. I had a Habitat for Humanity executive meeting that noon, and then on the 10th we had our township officers meeting. Yesterday I had my meeting with Bob for the agenda, and that was the end of that's what I did for the last 2 weeks. This is a part-time job. Charlie, I think it's your turn.
Okay.
They've heard me well enough. They don't need to listen to me anymore.
Morning, Charlie.
Good morning.
Morning,
Charlie.
Well, the proposal that we're bringing to you this morning is a proposal to replace and upgrade the overall capacity of the network equipment that we have up at the Justice Center. So a little bit of background that's also in your memo there. If you recall from some of our previous projects, we talked about all of the cabling and all of the equipment on our computer network are connected together by what we call network switches. Now, we call it our computer network, but it's actually much more than that. It not only handles all of the computer data in the county, but it handles all of our phone traffic. It's handling a lot more video these days, and it's also the backbone for all of our wireless access points that we have within the county. So when we talk about that network, that's what we're talking about. And if you look around the county, each one of the floors of our buildings, or the large work areas of our buildings, have their own set of these floor switches that connect all of the cabling and all of the equipment that's on that particular floor. So why are we looking at replacing this stuff at the Justice Center? Well, if you look at it, the current switches at the Justice Center are 7 years old, which is quite old as far as technology goes. And they've been discontinued by the manufacturer. They're no longer supported, so when we need tech support in the event of a problem, there's nobody that we can call. Also, they're relatively low capacity or relatively slow by today's networking standards, and we do need to upgrade our capacity for some future projects that are coming up at the Justice Center. So that's why we're looking at replacing them. And what this project will do, it'll replace those old switches with some new ones that have a minimum of 10 times the capacity of the old switches. They've also got a lot more backup and resiliency features to hopefully prevent downtime if we have some equipment failures. And that'll give us access to good tech support again. And last but not least, these new switches also have a lifetime replacement warranty, which is pretty unusual in the tech world these days. So we're proposing that this purchase be made under the terms and conditions of the competitively bid State of Minnesota network equipment contract, and that we would order this equipment from one of the authorized distributors that are on that state contract, which is CDW Government. So as you can see in your memo, the recommended vendor is CDW Government, and their state contract price is $173,424. This money is budgeted in the IT capital budget, and so what we're asking for today is the approval of the CDW Government contract for that amount of $173,424. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move approval.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just got it. I'll go ahead.
Go ahead, you go, Kip.
How long is the lifetime? on the switches?
Well, these we stretched for 7 years. We've had some that have gone as long as 8. What we're planning for this group is somewhere between 4 to 7.
Okay.
Probably more on the higher side. We're buying good quality ones, which hopefully should last us for a while. And also they have the capacity to, like I said, they're a minimum of 10 times the capacity. There are some things we can do to even upgrade, make that even more capacity. So to answer your question, I would say we're planning a minimum of 4, maybe more like 7 again.
So if anything happens into their lifetime, they'll replace them?
That's right.
Well, they got a
Not my
lifetime
lifetime.
warranty.
Not my lifetime.
Lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I
lifetime is
said,
as long as you
what's
have
the
them.
lifetime?
Figure that out. Did
Yeah.
they put a year on there about what the expected lifetime is for something like that, or?
No, they just, as long as you own them and they're in service, they're covered.
Oh. And so the projection would be that if our technology changes in the next 4 to 7 years, we're probably gonna have to get different switches of some sort.
You know, at some point, you know, and we usually budget out for replacement at about that, 4 to 7 year period. But like I said, these have the capacity where, right now they're a minimum of 10 times. We can do some things that would give them even more capacity. So that's what we look at. You can never tell what's going to happen with technology down the road, but that's the best projection we can make at this time.
And they hook in with our fiber optics and things like that. too,
Right.
then, don't they?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Makes sense.
Any more discussion?
Nope.
No more discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Passed.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.
All right, we'll jump to drainage.
Welcome, Craig.
Morning,
Hey,
Craig.
All by yourself today?
Yeah, I'm by myself. Casey is not feeling well, so
Oh,
I'll be
okay.
doing this all by myself today.
Okay.
I hope you can handle that.
Okay.
Hope she feels better too.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yep.
Okay, start off, we have a correction on the redetermination benefits. We found a correction that's significant enough. It was a clerical error, significant enough that I thought it should be brought before the board. The only landowner that's really affected negatively would be the Blue Earth County Highway Department. It was a mistake on their amount, and everybody else would actually be lowered. Their levy would be lowered.
Wow.
So I'm requesting that they approve a motion to accept the corrected redetermination benefits.
I'll move approval.
Second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed.
Okay. And we only have 2 inspection reports. First one is one of those where we're going to kind of do exploratory. If it's a small problem, we'll fix it. If it's a big problem, probably be back before the board. That's on count JD 45. The second one is just, we need to replace some tile out there. So
And they both look like they have more than enough money in their accounts, so.
currently, yes, they both have money in the account, so it's not a problem.
I'll move the repairs and the inspection.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed.
Okay.
It's
For now.
Short and sweet, to the point.
Great.
Gotta love it. All right, looks like,
little
I
early,
got
though.
9:29, so, let's bring up planning and zoning.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, we could do a couple of administrative items if you want to do those real quick.
You got something real quick? Yeah, let's do that.
We could start with the minutes from December 1st.
So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second on the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
Would you like to do the bills quickly?
If you don't have, I don't have a question, so I don't.
I've only got a couple.
Sure, let's go.
I'll move the bills.
Second.
Got a
There's three
motion
of
and
us
a second on the
You pushed
bills.
me down on that one.
All right, any discussion?
I've got just got a couple of questions.
All right.
Alpha Wireless expendable equipment is $40,000. Is just wondering what we're working on again there with that.
That's a project that's being reimbursed by the Regional Radio Board where they're installing radios in different facilities. So this one is
Just
related to the Mayo Hospital.
It is, okay. Joe Daniels Construction Company site grounds for $225,000.
That is the replacement of the radio tower for our high emergency transmissions.
Is that the one in North Cato there?
Yes.
That's County.
Yep.
And then just one more, Rough Ridge. I didn't write down what it was about, but I put the amount, and I was just curious what that was. $58,000.
That's a sweep broom in the Public Works Department.
A sweep broom?
I assume it's one of those that attaches to a tractor
Oh,
to clear the
wow.
road.
Just imagine, about 60 grand for a sweep broom.
Yeah, but you know what they do.
They're powerful, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're very powerful, yeah. Okay, I just had a couple questions there. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. Now we can come to planning and zoning. We just love to see you up here, George.
Yeah.
Morning, George and Aaron.
Aaron.
How are you?
Morning, Aaron.
Welcome. If I can find it on here. There it is.
Go right ahead, George.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 31-15 is a request from Anthony and Catherine Nass. It is a request for review and approval of the final plat of the Nass subdivision, a subdivision plat consisting of one lot and two outlots. The property is located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, part of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, part of the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, and part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, all located within Section 36, Sterling Township, and is zoned conservation. The property is also located in the Shoreline Overlay District of Lura Lake, which is listed as a natural environment lake by the Minnesota DNR. Mr. Afa presented the staff report. The applicants were present. There was a very brief mention of the absence of a turnaround in the proposal. There was no other public comment and no further discussion by the Planning Commission. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of approval of the request to the County Board, and the board action is a resolution.
All right. This will be a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to PC 31-15, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Anyone wishing to speak to PC 31-15, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. And again, anyone wishing to speak to PC 31-15, please come up to the podium and state your name and address. All right, seeing no one, what are the wishes of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a couple questions or comments. I remember this came before us as a preliminary plat and everything seemed pretty good then. I wasn't exactly sure where the lot was going to be, so now it was nice to see exactly where the buildable lot was and everything. And it's in the shoreland, so was there any concerns that that came for that wasn't in the report? You know that came up at the planning and zoning or at the regarding water runoff or regarding a rainwater plan for impervious surfaces or anything like that.
They will need to submit a SWIP, a Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
Okay.
And on the preliminary plat, it does show the setback of 100 feet, actually 150 feet to the ordinary high water level of the lake.
Yeah.
Right, so that has all been taken into account, and there still is more than 1 acre buildable area once those setbacks are taken into account.
Yeah, I saw that. But so they don't have to do that until they decide they're going to build out there. Whoever's going to build.
Correct.
That's when they submit their rainwater plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed. All right, PC 32-15.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 32-15 is a request from Leo and Sandra Koppelman and Sun Edison, Inc. for a conditional use permit to construct and operate a large solar energy system. The proposed project will span an estimated 36.57 acres and will have a power capacity of up to 5 megawatts, which by Blue Earth County standards classifies it as a large energy system. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in part of the southern half of the southeast quarter of Section 6, Luray Township. Mr. Stubbs presented the staff report. The applicants were present. A neighboring resident expressed his concern of the potential impact the construction may have on the area drainage system. He also asked if future plans of the county tile system have been taken into account. Staff advised the commission that the replacement branch of the county tile would be replaced prior to the commencement of the solar project, and that the project would not start without approval from the county ditch manager. There was no other public comment. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of approval of the request to the county board, and the board action is the resolution.
All right, this will be a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to PC 3215, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Anyone wishing to speak to PC 3215, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. And again, anyone wishing to speak to PC 3215, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. All right. Seeing no one, what are the wishes of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a question.
Okay.
I get some of these, my notes are kind of mixed up with here, but just curious, was this one of the ones where they were waiting for a wetland report also, or not? Is there?
So all of them, they have done the wetland delineation. It does need to be reviewed by the TEP panel. The preliminary determination was that there were not wetlands on this site.
Okay.
But again, that has
That's
to be...
not a final, is it?
No, it has to be approved by the TEP panel, and that was a condition before their issuance of their construction permit.
Okay, so that'll just be taken care of at some point before they start?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed. Okay, PC 3315.
PC 33-15 is a request from Carl Frederickson Life Estate and Jeffrey and Carrie Frederickson. It is a request for review and approval of the preliminary and final plats of the Frederickson subdivision consisting of 4 outlots. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the southeast quarter of Section 6 Garden City Township and in the northeast quarter of Section 7, also in Garden City Township. Mr. Afa presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no comment. There was no other public comment. The commission indicated they had no questions regarding the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of approval of the request to the county board, and the board action is a resolution.
All right. This will be a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak with on PC 3315, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Anyone wishing to speak on PC 3315, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. And again, anyone wishing to speak to PC 3315, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing no one, what are the wishes of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a couple quick questions again.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sometimes it's nice to know why they're doing this, and just wondering why they're dividing this all up into 4 outlots and then going to make it into some sort of a wetland, or make it into a returning it to, sort of a natural setting.
Right, the project is a part of a wetland restoration project that is from Unum Corporation out of LeSueur County, and they chose the location there in rural Blue Earth County. The applicant's attorney is here, and why they actually chose to create the 4 outlots I don't know, but because of the creation of the number of parcels within the quarter section, that's what triggered the need for a subdivision plat. So the county did not dictate to them the number of lots to be created. This was their proposal.
Okay.
And so if it is of interest to the board, maybe it's a question to ask the applicants. But I've also heard from them, maybe it was the attorney too, and he can correct me on this, it could have been the engineer, but there's a possibility that they'll be combining these lots in the future. But still, according to our subdivision planning regulations, that's what's triggered the need for the subdivision plan.
Okay.
And because of the simplicity of it all, that's why we brought both the preliminary and final plat together at the same time. There are no lots to be developed on this. It's all strictly outlots. And for that reason, we brought both the preliminary and final plats together at the same time.
Sounds like a plus plus.
And that's what the plan is, then there won't be any plan for development at a future date here? Okay, and, well, it looks like a good plan. I think what it is it's an offset, isn't it, for doing some mining? So, that's what it looks like.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. Okay, PC 3415.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 34-15 is a request from John and Ann Fry and Ecoplexus Incorporated for a conditional use permit to construct and operate a large solar energy system. The proposed project will span an estimated 28.6 acres and will have a power capacity of up to 5 megawatts, which by Blue Earth County standards classifies it as a large energy system. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the eastern half of the southeast quarter of Section 15, Lincoln Township. Mr. Stubbs presented the staff report. The applicants were present. The applicants advised the commission that the proposed solar panel area will actually cover approximately 40 acres versus the 28.6 acres indicated by staff. The applicants also commented on the 130-foot setback to the center line of the county road and the concern this has created of moving the project west and possibly impacting the nearby wetland. Staff advised the commission of his acreage calculations were based upon the submittal from the applicants. The applicants provided further discussion of the engineering of the site layouts and the reasoning behind the modification of the panel area. A concerned citizen posed the following questions. Are there restrictions of future buildings on the neighboring properties? How high will the fence around the project be? Who assumes the liability of damage if neighboring livestock get onto the property? Are there concerns with stray voltage? He also indicated the soil of the area is sandy and could be prone to erosion. The Planning Commission and staff discussed the questions raised. It was noted that it's likely that little dirt work will be involved with this project. The standards of the solar ordinance take into account the relationship of the proposal to structures on neighboring properties, and there is no requirement within the ordinance that requires a fence. There are, however, standards in place for fences if they are included. There was also some discussion regarding proposed condition number 6, which states all vehicle traffic shall be prohibited from entering and exiting not farmed wetland during the construction or any maintenance of the site. Staff clarified this condition, stating that it was directed towards the wetland in the southwest corner of the property that is not involved in the boundary of the proposed solar project. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of approval of the request as originally proposed to the County Board, and the Board action is the resolution. Mr. Chairman, I would like to advise you that since the time of the December 2nd Planning Commission meeting, the applicant has submitted a formal request for a time extension in accordance with Minnesota State Statute 15.99. Subdivision 3, Applications Extensions, Part G, which states an applicant may, by written notice to the agency, request an extension of the time limit under this section. It is the intention of the applicant to submit an amended version of the original site plan, which will include a larger area than what was previously requested in the original application. It is the recommendation of staff that this item be remanded back to the Planning Commission so the amended request can be heard in January, and then a recommendation forwarded to the County Board for review at the January hearing. I also have copies of the written request for extension if everyone would like to see that.
Let me understand this then. So what we could be voting on is approving is the extension, and it would take this off the table?
Correct. So
we would not be voting on this in itself or discussing this. We would be discussing an extension. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But we felt that we needed to keep it on the agenda because there was a recommendation forwarded from the Planning Commission.
But if we as a board approve an extension, we won't be voting on this itself. We will be voting on the extension and then waiting for the planning commission again to come back to us.
That's my understanding.
Is that correct?
Right, you're, like Mr. Stubbs said, you're sending it back to the planning commission to review of the future submittal.
All right. Which would take it off from the public hearing and everything if we vote on an extension, correct?
Correct.
All right. What are the wishes of the board?
Move approval of the extension.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second to approve an extension for this. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next month then.
Next month.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, we're coming, well, we're right at 9:46. And judicial ditch number 9, preliminary improvement.
Oh, boy. They expect judicial ditch. Did they go down with it?
Yeah, I guess some changes.
Do we have a Jesse? Is there a
So far, so good.
write-up for this?
So far, so good.
It's got the agenda
I'm
here.
gonna go to my desk and then email it to you, or I'll just open it.
It's got this right here.
I'm just gonna give it to you on
But Casey's not here, so it'll be Craig maybe everything.
The whole thing is Craig. It's on Craig's shoulders, the whole thing.
There you are, Craig. I didn't see you. I was wondering what happened.
I was out in the hall, people are asking me questions.
So you're Casey on this then? 'Cause
I am everybody on this one here.
on page 150.
He's Superman today.
Yeah, 159 has quite a break.
She's getting it.
Craig, just remember, don't.
There's people coming and going, so we'll wait a few minutes.
Majority one. Okay.
What'd you decide on the branch, Craig? What'd you decide on the
We're
branch?
going to talk about it. I'm going to proceed. I think what we're going to do is we're going to proceed as if it was,
Part of this?
well, I think there's going to be a separate petition. We might have to have a separate preliminary hearing. The petitioners wanted to make sure this thing goes ahead.
Okay, so we're gonna tie it to this, so
And
it's
I
not
think
gonna slow it
eventually
down.
at the next
The
preliminary
board.
hearing, we'd have to tie it together. I think that's the plan.
Chuck's got it all figured out.
Chuck was going to talk about it.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Oh, it is. It's something. It's like
I'm just waiting for Jesse to come back.
just when they had some troubles with before.
We'll be getting going here, folks. I'm just waiting for one of my staff to come back here.
It's commercial break.
Commercial break, yeah.
Yeah, they can have that.
You're my hero.
No commercial break for the,
Yeah. Did you?
ditch hearing. Hey, maybe we could
All
sell
right.
commercials.
Yeah.
We get 36 viewers a month.
Welcome to the final hearing on the proposed improvement to CD 78. The purpose of this hearing is to
Wait, see,
No, wrong ditch.
Oh,
9.
9.
And it's not the final.
Oh, that's all right.
Preliminary.
Okay, does
It's
this help?
judicial ditch 9 is what we got.
CD
Well,
9.
this is the,
I got the wrong script.
Okay, here.
Okay.
I think everything is correct except that first,
Except for that first part?
Yeah, it's,
because on the top it says JD9.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Okay.
The purpose of the hearing is to consider the petition for the drainage project with all matters pertaining to the detailed survey report and the viewer's report. We'll start with the judicial documents.
Okay, hearing notices for this preliminary hearing were mailed on November 20th, 2015. We received the DNR report on December 8th, 2015. I don't know if there's any DNR representatives here to give the report. If not, the statute requires that we read the report into the record. We have a DNR report from Minnesota Department of Natural Resources dated December 8th, addressed to myself, Craig Austinson, Blue Earth County Ditch Manager. Subject, preliminary engineering report, Judicial Ditch 9, Blue Earth County, Minnesota. Dear Mr. Austinson, on behalf of the Director in the Division of Ecological and Water Resources of the Department of Natural Resources, I offer the following comments on the preliminary engineer's report for the project referenced above in accordance with Minnesota Statute 103E.255. Of general concern on all proposed ditch improvements is the cumulative effect that the project may have on the downstream water resources, natural resources, and property owners in terms of the quantity and quality of the water that is received. Project-specific cumulative impacts from ditch projects can result in downstream flooding, erosion, and a decrease in water quality. For these reasons, we urge careful evaluation of the project to ensure that it is consistent with the priority concerns identified in the Blue Earth County Water Management Plan. The water plan includes priorities for improving surface and groundwater quality, agricultural runoff, and impaired waters. The water plan emphasizes the use of best management practices to control erosion, reduce excess nutrients from entering surface waters. During peak flow periods, runoff from agricultural lands can be reduced through the use of cover crops. Cover crops help retain topsoil on the land, improve soil structure, aid in infiltration and storage of soil moisture, and improve water quality. The retention and healthy of topsoil is vital to long-term agricultural production. The use of cover crops in the watershed would reduce the need to expand ditch systems, stabilize ditch and stream banks, and decrease the frequency of ditch cleanouts, resulting in lower landowner costs for ditch maintenance. The Agriculture BMP Handbook for Minnesota has been developed by the Minnesota Department of Agriculture to address water quality impairments. The document provides a review of 30 conservation practices that are designed to enhance agriculture's role in addressing water quality concerns in Minnesota. Engineer reports should include the appropriate BMPs for the project. The landowner should be encouraged to implement them. The Agriculture BMP book for Minnesota can be viewed at the following link, and has a nice big long link which is available if anybody requests. Controlled drainage systems allow for the management of soil water conditions that allow for the drying out of the fields in spring for planting and fall for harvest. During the summer, the drainage is restricted to allow increased water retention in the soil profiles that is available to plants during the summer growing season. The DNR supports the use of controlled drainage. It is beneficial to agricultural production by retaining moisture and nutrients in the soil while minimizing runoff and erosion. The grade in portions of the project area may be conducive to controlled drainage. If appropriate, landowners in the area should be encouraged to consider the use of controlled drainage. Page 5 indicates that the two existing wetlands in the upper end of JD9 system will be enhanced by increasing the water levels by creating a higher fixed water outlet elevation within the wetlands. Consideration should also be given to establishing some upland buffer around the perimeters of each of these wetlands to limit the additional sediment and excess nutrients from entering the wetlands. The upland buffer would also encourage the soil on the outside of the enhancement area to remain dry enough for normal agricultural practices to occur without interruption. The DNR supports the enhancement of the two existing wetlands that would provide storage in the watershed, improve water quality, and provide additional wildlife habitat. Page 5 also indicates an option for water storage pond with a low flow outlet and a secondary outlet device installed at a higher elevation that will allow the pond to drain out faster during large storm events. The DNR supports the inclusion of a water storage pond as it would slow the water velocity and reduce outlet flows. The pond storage should be designed in a manner that allows sediment to remain in the pond so that it may not be transported downstream during higher storm events. In addition, the storage pond is located adjacent to the road, and it could prevent a safety hazard if someone inadvertently leaves the roadway and crashes into the pond. The preliminary engineering report indicates portions of the newly created ditch will be cleaned out. The document did not indicate what locations would be required a clean out and why it is necessary, given the ditch has been cleaned out a few years ago. The improper ditch cleanouts can be counterproductive in the formation of a two-stage ditch. The final engineering report should be clear as to the locations and reasoning for the need to clean out the portions of the ditch. The final engineering report should include a more in-depth discussion concerning the outlet adequacy of the system. Written discussion for outlet adequacy should at a minimum include the percent increase in flows, stability of the outlet, and the potential downstream impacts to the drainage system include erosion and flooding. Drainage projects should be designed in a manner that limits the outlet flows. Ideally, there should be reduce or maintain the existing outlet flows in order to prevent downstream erosion and flooding. The DNR requests that the comment letter be included in the final engineering report with corresponding responses in order to facilitate a greater understanding of the decisions on the ditch projects. Please contact Kevin Mixon, Regional Environmental Assessment Ecologist, if you should have any general questions about this letter. And that's signed Jim Seal, EWR, Assistant Regional Manager.
All right, thank you very much. We will now hear from the petitioner's attorney. Chuck?
Morning.
Morning, Chuck.
Chuck?
How are you guys?
Good, good.
Good. I'm Chuck Peterson, the attorney for the petitioners on Blue Earth County Ditch Number 9. This is an improvement petition brought by a number of my friends and neighbors out there in Madison Lake for improvement of Ditch 9. It's in Leary and Jamestown Township. It's basically west of the lake of Madison Lake, kind of adjacent and west of Highway 60, and mostly north of County 17. Basically, it has a watershed of 2,112 acres and was constructed in 1918. As a result, a lot of the main underground tile are broken and too shallow. They're of insufficient size and capacity, and so the drainage is not adequate, and they get some flooding and loss of crop. They need to enlarge the main tile line and run it deeper, and that's what will improve the capacity of the system. The plan from the engineer is basically to construct a new main, a new branch, number 13, clean the open ditch and create a water storage pond, as well as enlarge or enhance 2 wetland areas. We had a preliminary meeting last Thursday in Eagle Lake. We have had some people come forward that want to amend the petition to include and to make this a larger project, which would be, I believe it's branch number 3 south of county number 17. They want to replace that branch also. And so we have a little bit of a concern as to whether we should move forward now or include the branch in this project. I haven't had a chance to talk to all of the original petitioners, but the ones that I've talked to, I don't necessarily think they're opposed to this, adding this on, but they do not want to delay the project. They want to move on. And so I guess that's where I am, is at the point of saying the original petitioners would like to move on if the people that want the improvement to the branch number 3, I think we talked about it, and Chuck Brandel can comment on it, that if a petition was filed immediately, as soon hereafter as we could, that project could still go ahead basically at the same time, and we could save considerable cost without having to delay this. So, and I believe if Chuck goes through with the engineering report, it will establish the statutory qualifications that it's necessary, feasible, of public benefit, and that the outlet is adequate. So I would ask the court to move forward with this improvement petition.
All right, any questions from Chuck, from the board?
So the general feeling is this is a preliminary a preliminary approval, and to keep things moving ahead, you want it submitted as is then?
That's the feeling. You know, I haven't talked to all the original petitioners, but, you know, if there's somebody here that disagrees, I'd certainly listen, but the ones that I have talked to aren't necessarily opposed, they just want to keep moving forward.
Okay. And I'm not sure how that affects things, I wasn't sure.
So, depending on what we hear, we have options.
Okay.
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 Good.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
All right. Now we will hear from the engineer. Another Chuck.
Chuck.
Good morning.
Morning, Chuck.
Morning, Chuck.
Chuck Brandel with INS Group. As Chuck Peterson explained, JD9 was originally constructed in 1918. Talked about the location. There was an improvement in 2001 to the system, that the outlet area south of County Road 17 was improved from a tile outlet to an open ditch. Some of that open ditch has been kind of self-forming itself into a two-stage ditch. Craig and I have been watching it, and there's been some cleanings, but we're trying to keep that two-stage ditch intact. That wasn't part of the improvement, but I just wanted to comment that this is the second improvement to the system. The project started out, there were some issues with the tile. Some televising was completed. I have one of the plans from the just the sheets of what we found. The main line was in very poor shape, and you can see it in the pictures. There's also pictures in the report where there's portions of the main line that are shallow on the screen right now, where we didn't have to dig to get to those locations. The tile is in very poor shape in many locations. The petition that was submitted was primarily for the main line and branch 13. That project would consist of replacing a 28-inch tile north of County Road 16. Currently there's a 48-inch pipe that was put in as part of the 2001 improvement under County Road 17. From that location, we're proposing to install a water storage pond and then continue with a 42-inch pipe. That would create enough depth. We'd have to run it fairly flat to get the depth needed, but enough depth to provide cover for the whole system. It would also get to a half-inch drainage coefficient. The pond would reduce the flows at that location to very close to existing flows. One of the DNR's comments about the adequacy of the outlet for this portion of the improvement, it would reduce the flows to existing conditions. And I did talk with Kevin Mixon from the DNR about that. He asked about maybe some more detail in the final report, which we can put that into the report. He also asked about modifying the pond slightly to provide sediment storage. And we talked about maybe putting what we call a forebay in it, or a deeper section that could collect sediment. We have something similar to that in the CD57 pond, if you guys are familiar with that one. The main would continue up as a 42 into the northwest quarter of section 9 of Leary Township. There it switches from north-south to east-west. It would become a 36-inch line, and then a 30-inch tile, and then continue on as a 30-inch tile to an existing wetland basin in section 4 of Leary Township. There, a portion of branch 13 would be reconstructed as the outlet for the wetland as a 24-inch tile with the structure coming up out of the ground. A 24-inch tile would continue on to the second wetland basin, and then an 18-inch line would replace the existing 12-inch line draining to the northeast quarter of section 4 in Leary Township. The portion that has been asked to be looked at for an alternate petition is branch 3, which includes a couple laterals. That area is east of the ditch, south of County Road 17. We did have completed some preliminary survey information on that area just to see, as part of the engineering report, because of just looking at the ditch and making sure that future improvements could be affected. So To move forward with that would be we could do it fairly quickly. If a petition moved forward, we would be ready to move fairly quickly on that. The portion of the project that was petitioned, the improvement costs are estimated at $1,297,000. That includes approximately $130,000 for the pond, some wetland easements, the structures in the wetland and the pond. To repair the tile that's being improved would cost approximately $900,000. And by the pictures and televising, you can see that the tile is in need of repair. It's not your job today to approve separable maintenance, but at the final, if this is moved forward at the final hearing, we would ask for separable maintenance on the project. If that was approved as petitioned right now, the project would have a net cost of $393,000, and it's my opinion that it would be cost effective, and if the viewers were appointed, they'd more than likely find more benefits than the cost. A couple options for moving forward. If you feel that you want to add the other branch, you could approve this project today as is and wait to set the final hearing until the viewers have completed their work. In between that time, if another petition comes forward, you could have a preliminary hearing on that project and combine both of those as a final report. We may have to separate out the cost because of two separate petitions, but we could have one final hearing, one final report, which could save both costs and time for the project. So they could be combined. You could continue the hearing, wait for the petition to be added to this current petition. It doesn't sound like that's what the petitioners want to do, but that would be another option, to continue the hearing and then add them both and approve them as a prelim. Either way, if another petition moves forward, you're going to have another preliminary hearing. So it does, either way, you have the same amount of hearings. At this point, it's our opinion that the project is cost effective, it's practical, feasible. With the BMPs that were looked at, the outlet would be adequate, and we'd recommend moving forward with this portion of the project.
Are there any questions to Chuck from the board? Go ahead.
Just a little confused where this outlet is considered to go. I mean, where's it actually going in the water?
The petition project starts north of County Road 17. The open ditch continues south and crosses Highway 14 and then drains into a natural waterway south of Highway 14 and then eventually gets to the LeSueur River.
Okay.
So it drains south into the LeSueur. MnDOT has done some wetland restoration near the outlet. And then there's another wetland area near the outlet. We did look at that area as a potential enhancement, but with elevations and the main project being so far away, we didn't consider that. If branch 3 would move forward, we'd look harder at the outlet on if there's anything that can be done there. I think it's good practice. The DNR commented on it, that we should try to maintain the existing two-stage ditch that's formed in the ditch, because it is functioning fairly well,
Nice.
keeping a center channel going, and it does provide some sediment storage.
And so is there, where we can't see it to the south, is there a body of water there?
No, I believe it's a
Wetland?
waterway or creek down to the LeSueur River.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the map to verify.
Okay, it's a separate creek from the one that comes out of Madison Lake, though. It's not the same creek.
Correct.
There's an outlet of water that goes south out of Madison Lake to the river also.
Yeah, this is separate from that. This is west of that.
Separate system.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions to Chuck?
Not at this point.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, if there's no
Thanks, Chuck.
additional questions from the board, we'll now open the floor to public comment. This hearing is being recorded, so please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Anyone? Come right on up. Please state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Deanne Malter, 400 Northwest Street, Janesville, Minnesota. And I am one of the parties, my husband and I, who are interested in proceeding to also have Branch 3 included in this project. This is a new experience for us, and I should have got on this earlier, and I'm just going to say that up front. But I want to, this is a big and expensive project, which is going to cost us money one way or another. But unless we include Branch 3, the farmland that we have in Blue Earth County will see no benefit from it. And we're willing to pay what it takes to have that improvement to our ground as well. All the improvements proposed so far basically come north of 17, and there's a fair amount of farm ground south of 17, which includes ours, that Branch 3, an improvement there would really make some property we have there much more farmable. And so that's our proposal. We've had some discussion with the neighbors on Branch 3, and it looks like we have support to be able to proceed with this. And I actually was in contact with Rinky Noonan because we work with them on private things, and they said, no, we can't talk to you about this because we're working with Blue Earth County. So they're giving me some guidance as to who I might work with. But it would be our plan to proceed pretty quickly with an additional petition. We in no way want to hold up the current petition. We know it's of great benefit and that folks have done a lot of work to make it happen. But we also want to be cost effective, and I think that happens if we combine these two petitions as one project, at least down the road. And so it's our intent to move ahead quite quickly and get a petition into you folks and go from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to JD number 9? Anyone else would like to speak to JD ditch number 9? All right. Seeing no one, what are the wishes of the board?
I also agree with Deanne and Chuck, more towards the, let's get this done today, get the other petition on board. We've got to have 2 hearings anyways. Most of the work's already done, so as long as we can keep them both going and you guys can get them all done with one final, I certainly will support that.
So do you want to move a motion on
Yes, I was just looking for the page we're working on, but I will move the appointing of the viewers and to...
Is there 2, we have to do 2 of them, or?
Yeah, the findings in order would be to, for the regular petition, would be to order the engineer, directing the engineer to proceed with a detailed survey and the appointment of viewers by the Drainage Authority. That's what we'd be looking at, I think is what you want, is that correct?
Yep, that's what I'm looking for.
right.
And you want to name the viewers quick?
The viewers for the project to be Ron Rehnquist, Tom Mahoney, Bill Anderson, also Chuck Bowers as an alternate, as they are disinterested residents of the state, and so we'd appoint them as viewers.
Alrighty, I will move that motion to order the survey and appoint the viewers to start the viewing.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion from the board?
Sounds like a good plan. I mean, I'm glad that that you're looking at what needs to be done and might as well do it all at once when.
And thanks for coming up too.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
You brought it up.
We've
All
had
right.
a lot of good discussion about this, and we've had good groups of meetings at the City of Eagle Lake. Got to the one the other day, I was a little late, but they had good discussion, and I think just by doing that and getting people involved, works pretty well, so.
All right.
We'll keep moving forward.
All right. See no more discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. I think we'll have a short break. All right. We'll call the meeting back to order again. We're going to have our taxpayer services assessment changes.
Morning.
Mark.
Mark, how are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Good, good.
So, as pursuant to Minnesota statute, we're responsible for reporting any changes to the 2015 assessment which I remind you that was adjourned in July after the County Board of Appeal and Equalization, but the changes that have occurred since then. And those changes can take place no later than December 31st for our purposes, so that's why we're in the last meeting for this year.
All right.
Jesse, did you hand out the pamphlet?
I did just
Okay.
shoot them.
So the pamphlets in front of you, I'll just take you through the sub-columns there. So on page 2 of 7, you'll see the parcel listing there, and those are parcels that have lost or gained eligibility for special property tax programs, such as disabled veterans programs or the blind disabled program that they have. On page 3, the second column there, is parcels that have lost or gained property tax eligibility due to acquisition. So most of these ones are Cougar Estates, for example, on the east side of 22 there, where they purchased property. Cougar Estates developed it. The outlots were then transferred into the city of Mankato, where they became tax exempt. The next column there is just one parcel, and that's a classification change. And that one parcel in particular went from seasonal recreational to residential homestead. So that was that change.
Okay.
And then at the bottom of the page there, that are changes that are made due to the land size changes, whether somebody brought in a survey and we corrected information, or right-of-way changes. So our mapping department made the changes there. And then finally on page 4 there, and for the remainder all the way through page 7, are homestead classification changes. So either somebody lost or gained homestead status.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, what are the wishes of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Couple questions.
Sure.
So those other pages, those are just like, let's just give some examples. That'd be like a house didn't sell for a year and a half, 2 years or something, and then it loses its homestead. Is that correct?
Yep, page 4 through
7.
Yep, those are homestead changes. So
Is that a common one?
Yep. Say you owned and occupied a home to qualify for homestead.
Yeah.
You then bought another home and you still own that, and so you lose a homestead on the original house. Maybe you're renting it out or something.
Okay.
Those are, it's an application process, but yeah, it is quite common to be changing.
Right, so, or you purchased a home and then got a rental license and rented it out, because that can't have
Correct.
homestead
That would be
status.
non-homestead, so
Okay.
if it was receiving homestead status, if you just purchased it from the previous owner and then went to non-homestead, that would be a change in that 1 year.
Okay. Then I'm just curious, I see there's about, I don't know how many, maybe 10, right in that one page 3.
bottom?
They became exempt from taxes. I'm just curious what that's about. How does that become a tax exempt?
Well, there's a couple different ways. If you look at the list there's a column on the right there that says notes, and that's from taxable to exempt.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those most of the parcels on this list are in the Cougar Estates subdivision. And
what's
so
that?
what happened, that's where the Prairie, just north of the Prairie Winds School is being developed there, the Hoffman and 22 intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was subdivided into a plat, and then there was outlots remaining in there, next to roads and that. And then the city of Mankato took those outlots over, so the city of Mankato is an exempt.
So it's non-buildable lots? Is that basically what you think they are?
Outlots are unbuildable unless they were replatted. Yep. Most of these are little slivers.
They're just little
along the
slivers like
roads.
along the right-of-ways,
Yep.
or where utilities or something might be, or
Correct.
that kind of, not
Most of
full-size
the
lots.
majority of these on the list are.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
the
Cougar
other
Estates is just south of Hosanna?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
That
been in
area.
Cougar
Yep.
Estates. That's why I was wondering when you mentioned Cougar Estates. I said, well, there's
Cougar
buildable-
East, I'm sorry. It's not
buildable
Cougar
lots
Estates,
there. I
it's
didn't know
Cougar
how they-
East, I'm sorry.
I'm
Okay.
east.
Yep.
Okay.
And then another example would be here, where it went from taxable to exempt, would be where Blue Earth County acquired the
Right-of-way.
Saddle Club property next
Sure.
to the
Sure.
lake there. So that'd be an example
It's like
of that.
parkland or something?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, for the record, I believe they're looking for a motion to accept the changes into for the record, and I
So
think that's what Commissioner Purvis was.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, any more discussion?
Thanks for your work on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
And your other staff too that work on it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. And Hoffman Road Cooperative Agreement discussion. Al?
Well, thank you for a few minutes of your time this morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, Al.
As you know, we've been talking and meeting with the city on a way to include the Hoffman Road as part of the County 12 construction project, because we all want to avoid, it's kind of a picture. I'll send that around. And there's I know in your packet there's a memo. I took one of the figures in that memo and annotated it a little bit. That will help you, or help me explain perhaps, the situation. And this is just for discussion this morning. We're not asking for any action on an agreement or anything, just for discussion. So as we meet with the city, we've got a better idea of the board's view on the subject.
They had an action item on it last night though at the city council.
Yes, which they tabled.
Yeah, they tabled it.
Yeah, and the discussion they did have is parallel to the discussion that we had with the city yesterday. I asked for a meeting with the city prior to that council meeting, and so Pat Henches, Jeff Johnson, their city public works director now, Bob and myself met and discussed Hoffman, had a very good discussion. If you look at the drawing here, you see County 12 running north and south. Over here, you see Prairie Wind Drive running south to the new high school, to the junior high. This is a segment of Hoffman Road between Prairie Wind Drive and County 12 that we're discussing. It's currently a township road,
Township
actually.
road, yeah.
A gravel township road. But you can see with the plats taking place in development that it will become a city street and serve city needs before the not too distant future. Now, if you looked at the top line here, Blue Earth County proposal, the way we've shared costs in intersections for local streets in the past is shown for Prairie Wind Drive over to County 12. We come into the roundabout and then back out. That's consistent with what we've done before and consistent with state cost sharing policy. And we shared that with the city yesterday. The estimated cost of that piece, the entire cost, including construction, about $638,000, right-of-way about $75,000. And you do need more right-of-way because the township road is there as easement, that's available, but that's 66 feet. You build a curb and gutter road, 3-lane, sidewalk, trail, you need 80 to 100 feet. So that's why there's additional right-of-way costs. And then the engineering at 10%, about $64,000. So the entire cost of that piece is about $777,000, very roughly. Now, Mr. Henches laid out some rationale why he believes the city should pay for this piece, shown as city proposal, to the east side of the Lang parcel, rather than all the way to the roundabout. And I think he had some good rationale there, actually. Hoffman will provide a regional benefit, therefore county funds should bear a greater portion of the cost. Much of the traffic will have an origin exterior to Mankato, including Eagle Lake and Madison Lake, bound for the new school. The project is being constructed prior to annexation and development, making it more difficult to assess and negotiate road funding from adjacent landowners. The project is currently a township road exterior to the city limits, making it more difficult to justify assessments and general obligation bonds. The city's standard of funding road projects through assessments will not fully fund Hoffman because of the larger collector nature of the road, the 3-lane design with trail and sidewalk. And once again, that larger design is needed because of the regional function of the road. And finally, city funds are fully obligated, according to Mr. Henches, with Prairie Wind Drive, Hoffman Road from Highway 22 to Prairie Wind Drive, and then their struggle to get Adams Street project extended. So that was my understanding of his concerns and his rationale for the city paying for this piece. Basically what they're proposing is that the city would pay all the construction costs for this piece, they would pay all the additional right-of-way costs, they would provide funding for all the utilities, the water and sewer, all the way, not just this piece, and they would provide that payment up front, which simplifies things in some ways for us. You know, in the memo I provided with the packet, there was the question of do we charge them interest? That question goes away if they pay the money up front. There was a question of how long do they pay? Well, if they pay it up front, that question goes away. There was a question on paying for the additional right-of-way. They're agreeing that they would pay for all the right-of-way for this segment. So that question goes away. And then finally, a major question was tying their reimbursement to whether they get assessments and how much assessments they get. That question would go away. They would agree to pay the full cost of this, regardless of the source of funding they use. So I just wanted to lay those things out and see what your feelings were as far as that kind of a discussion as being a reasonable solution to a problem.
You know, it really seems to me like the city and Blue Earth County has worked as good partners.
Yes.
Over the years, and historically we've done a lot of good partnership on roads to really help everyone in the county.
Right.
I appreciate you and Bob negotiating this and working on this. I know we have some more before we come in to make a final decision. We're not making any sort of a vote today on this.
Right.
So you know, make it fair and equitable for everybody involved. And you know, what the county doesn't need and what the city of Mankato doesn't need is to have us construct 12 and then years later construct that small eighth of a mile.
Yeah.
I think everybody looks at that as a real waste of taxpayer money.
Right.
Because that's what people complain about. You construct something and then a few years later tear it all up and reconstruct something. That's just a waste of money. So get a good proposal and bring it to us, and you know, I think everybody wants this all completed when we do 12 next year, or in 17.
17, yeah.
I have a comment alongside that too with you, Vance. Thank you for sharing that. So far, there's nothing that the city is participating in as far as us completing, is it the fourth stage of 12? Is that what we call it? Fifth stage.
Fifth and last stage, yes.
Fifth and last stage, which goes from 17 all the way down to 83.
Right.
And I mean, that's pretty much all our responsibility.
Yes.
We've proposed that, and it's pretty much our baby. And when that started, we didn't know the school was going to go in down here.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
And so we've got a huge expense, I just want to mention, in number 12, which is probably how much money is the estimate on that so far?
8 million approximately.
About 8 million plus, probably.
Yes.
So we've got an $8 million concern with trying to complete 12. Because I know that they're looking forward to 12 being completed in with this whole project. I mean, this isn't just this extension. It's of Hoffman. We're doing all of 12, which is $8 million, which is a huge amount of money, and a good asset for our community. And so then I just want to clarify what you brought to us here. Then is that they're going to basically take about half of the right of way and pay for it, as it is right now. Then the plan.
Yeah, it would be approximately half the cost of the total segment.
Of Hoffman.
Yes.
So about half of that.
Well,
right?
let's clarify that though. Half of the segment between those two. It's not all of Hoffman.
Yeah, they would pay all the costs of this segment.
Right.
Which is about 1/2 of the total cost.
It's close to it.
Of that section of Hoffman.
That
They're
section
doing
of
the other
Hoffman.
part of Hoffman on their own.
They're doing the other.
22 to
From 22 to
22 to
their.
Prairie.
They're doing
So we got to make
100%
sure we
of that.
keep this
Correct.
clear. We're not paying half of all of Hoffman.
Right,
So
right.
keep that clear.
No.
Okay.
This is from
Just
Prairie
that
Winds
small section.
to
Trying to get
the
it
east side of
clarified.
Billings
The
Park.
section that's in our
Okay.
scope of work, I think, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's not half of Hoffman. It's
the
half
other-
of this small section.
But the construction costs they're not paying for of that half.
Yes.
Later on down the road, that would be paid for then, Al, or just curious?
Could you repeat?
Oh, just the construction costs, which are, let's say it's $638,000 for this whole section right here.
Yeah, right.
Estimated at $638,000. we pay this, though, is what they're still kind of expecting us to pay for that portion of it.
No.
No.
They would pay for all the costs associated with this half of that piece of Hoffman.
Including the construction costs.
Construction, right-of-way, engineering.
Oh.
Yes.
So that's different than what
They
it
would
was.
pay all the costs of this part, we would pay all the costs of this part.
Oh, okay.
Except
The construction.
for the underground piping and stuff, because they'll still pay for all
utilities will take care of it.
utilities.
Yes.
And that's a huge part of that.
Oh, it is, it's about half the total cost.
Yeah.
It is.
Water
Oh,
and sewer.
okay. All right.
Well,
And then-
I really appreciate, the work you've done. I know you have more negotiating to do on this, and but it really looks positive that we can end up with a final solution and help everybody involved.
Yeah, if there's a consensus of the board that this is a reasonable direction to go, I think we can put specific items
Well,
down.
we can't take a vote today, but
No. But what do you do next then, Al? Because this road isn't even owned by the city. It's not owned by the county. I mean, this is a township road. Are they interested in letting it go then, or how do we do this? Because has anybody talked to the township?
It would become a city street. It would need to be annexed,
In the
become a city
future.
street.
But not even in the next year or two.
No, although, that's not really a problem because either the county or the city could take it over and do the work, the construction work.
Right. So, I mean, we would have to propose then getting it from the township when we were going to continue with the
Yeah.
project.
And, that's one of the things that we need to talk to the city about, how they would like to proceed with taking the road over. Whether it's county and then transfer to the city, or whether the city just takes it over immediately, which makes sense to me, really.
And that can be in the agreement then.
Yes.
Even if they own this whole thing from the township, take it over,
Yes.
we can still, in the agreement, say that we'll take care of this, our portion, and especially this leg here going into the roundabout and that sort of thing.
We can take care of that transfer from the township to the agency that constructs it and will own it.
Okay, thank you.
In fact, we've done that with Carver Road.
Yep.
Because Much of 12 runs on Carver Road.
Yeah.
The county took that over.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Al.
So I think so. I'm reading a consensus.
I think so.
I certainly, I understand this, it's a little longer than we normally would do, but I think it's a fair compromise, and we need this road.
Yep.
We need the trails there too.
Well,
Those trails are important because
All
there's
right.
going to be kids going to school.
It makes sense all the way around.
Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Have a good day.
See you this afternoon. I'm looking forward to the drink with you this afternoon. Coffee.
All right.
Phil?
Coffee.
I
That's
brought
what's in
the
your
veggies.
coffee.
I brought the veggies, Al, so.
Okay, good.
You're up.
Who's up?
Oh my gosh.
What is this?
I'm not sure if I like seeing that,
it's the old
Phil.
Clausen show of
Phil, my hand is getting sore just thinking about all those.
This is your Exodus. It's your
Yeah.
Exodus.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Merry Christmas to you all and Happy Holidays.
You
and
too.
Happy New Year as well. I have, as you saw, a lot of action items to bring before you, Mr. Commissioner Mr. Chair and Commissioners. The first section of our action items is Children and Family Services. And there's one item under that section for Adult, Child, and Family Services. This is a mental health service contract for therapeutic supports and family skills, crisis counseling, psychotherapy, diagnostic assessment, group therapy. It really pays for children and families who do not have health insurance or inadequate health insurance coverage. There was an increased rate of 1.5% in all of those areas. The term of that contract is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Mental Health Center, we have several contracts that are due. The first of those being with LeSueur County Human Services for psychiatric services. We provide medication management, diagnostic assessment, urgent care services to adults residing in LeSueur County. We also provide psychiatric consultation to their adult mental health unit. The amount is unchanged from the prior year. They have a not to exceed amount of $40,000 that they pay to us annually. Term is August 1st through December 31st. of 2016. Michael Farnsworth, this is our contract with Dr. Farnsworth for psychiatric medication management, diagnostic assessment, case consult, clinical supervision services, and consultation for the regional initiative. The rate is $209 per hour, not to exceed $303,436. It's a 2% increase, and the term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Similar contract with Tricia Aiken. The name of her business is Minneapolis Forensic Psychological Services. She offers us psych testing, diagnostic assessments, case consult, and clinical supervision of our staff. Her rate is $88.65 per hour, not to exceed $73,756.80 annually. There's a 2% increase in this contract, and the term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 2016. Behavioral Health Unit. First contract is with the City of Mankato, Department of Public Safety for transportation to detoxification services. We have a 3% increase in this renewal contract, $68.38 per hour, increased to $70.43 per hour. The mileage is also paid at a IRS rate. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. The next 4 contracts are similar. They're all regarding board and lodge services in our community by 4 different vendors. The first of those is Briley Board and Lodge. This is a rate 1 facility, up to 7 residents. Rates are set for board and lodge by the state. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 17, so 2-year contract. Yes,
Phil? Is that a new owner of that house there on West Pleasant?
That's right, Commissioner. Yeah, and Commissioner Campbell asked about that too. We've had, good history here, short term, since the new ownership took place, and so no reports that have come to us. Usually the community's pretty quick to let us know if there's problems, and we haven't heard any. So yes.
Since he's asking a quick question too, along the lines of the board and lodge, I think there's quite a demand for that in our community, isn't there?
Right.
I mean, there's people, you can fill up a house right now.
There is, definitely. And I do want to just explain too, this can become a little complex or complicated how the funding works, but the rate 1 beds like Riley's here, this first contract, is really the straightforward, they provide the room and that's it. And so that's rate 1 when we refer to that. Rate 2 is that plus some service rates, and then you'll also see contracts where we go beyond rate 2 for the highly acute people that have needs. So there's kind of 3 levels of board and lodge. The rate 2 beds are highly controlled, and so the ones with services, which are really the need that we have. And so the state does control how many rate 2 beds are out there.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
That's why.
And you'll see that, like in the Horizon Home contract. I'll explain that a little bit. Like that they're limited to how many rate 2 beds they can have. So
the concern I had is that, and this is just my own experiences of knowing people that have lived in them, a couple of people that I know. Some of those bedrooms aren't very big.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about the minimal size bedroom. You can just barely make it as a bedroom with the window egress and all. And they put 2 people in there. And it's pretty tight. I'm telling you, it's tight. I mean, so I mean, is there anybody looking at trying to expand and have any more board and lodge in Mankato?
Well, I think we will see some of that. I think you'll probably have us come to a work session and talk a little bit more about the group residential housing change that happened recently, where they've kind of opened that up to providers, and we really want to come to the board and talk about what's our philosophy, because you don't want it to be just that people from outside our community that we don't know start building a lot of beds. On the other hand, what you're bringing up, Commissioner, is that we have a need here there's no doubt about it.
I bump into people every week almost.
No doubt about it.
That don't have a place to live.
Right. And so we just want to get the board's counsel on that, as well as Bob's, is just to make sure that we do that in a way that makes sense to what your preferences are.
That's good.
House of Hope, very similar contract to the first one, same rate 1 setup. There's 5 individuals at that facility, same term from January 1st of 2016 through December 31st of 2017. The third one, Horizon Homes, here is where we start to get into some of the rate 2 complexity. You'll see that we have 9 beds for rate 2, and they only had 9 that they could do with rate 2, so they also had to do 1 bed at rate 1 without the supportive services. And so that's just what we were discussing, is that there's limits to how many beds they can have. And the term of that one is January 1st of 16, and the same to December 31st of 2017. Horizon Home House 8, this is a bigger facility, rate 2 beds, up to 20 individuals. And the term of that is the same, a 2-year contract from January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 2017. If we add them all up, rate 1s, we have 13 beds in these 4 contracts and 29 beds for rate 2.
Okay.
One quick question, if
Yeah.
it's okay. Then we're not accountable as a county to see how their services are going, are we?
Right, and
I mean, it's just-
that's a difficulty. The rate 1s especially, it really is a license that I think, again, anyone could apply for through the state, and we don't control that licensing process. And we don't necessarily have oversight unless there's problems. And so the adult protection side, if there's vulnerable people in that house and they're not getting service that is appropriate, they can certainly call us from that perspective, and we'll go in and investigate any kind of complaints. So we usually get called in when there's a problem, but there really isn't that ongoing daily oversight or programmatic oversight that we can really have any influence over at all, so, especially with rate 1.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones that approve the contract.
Yeah, it's very interesting that comes through
So I don't
to your
understand.
attention.
Who does
yes.
it? The state kind of,
Yes,
if they get
right.
called or something?
And controls the rates as well.
Okay.
Woodland Centers, next contract, it's a backup contract for detox, and our primary facility obviously is Brown County Evaluation Center. The backup contract increased by 2% from $470 per day to $480 per day. It's close to 2%. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. We also have other backup facilities that we use, and as you all know, there's sometimes great problems either with bed space or sometimes with individuals who have a history with a certain facility and they don't want to admit that person. So we need these backup contracts. South Central Community-Based Initiative, several items under this, our adult services initiative. The first one is our Joint Powers Board Agreement, and obviously it's our 10 counties for this initiative. This is a renewal. The grant funds are received from the state to our Joint Powers Board, which then can be invested locally within our mental health service continuum. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 2020. Morris Electronics is a consultant we use for our ITV programming and network. Sean does a whole range of services for us, enabling us to have the telemedicine, the communication, the technology, and the network system. It is a renewal contract. The cost did not change, $70 per hour, not to exceed $10,000 per year. Term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Horizon Homes Crisis Center. This contract allows us to provide the adult residential mental health crisis services to the 12 beds at the Crisis Center, 24/7 telephone counseling for crisis, transportation services to help access for people who are in crisis and need in the 10-county region to get to the Crisis Center. This is a renewal, not to exceed $475,000 annually. The amount is unchanged. The rates for that service are set by the department, and the term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Horizon Home, this is the third level of what we talked about for Board and Lodge. Horizon Home Board and Lodge, this allows us to use the 9 beds at the Horizon Home facility, and we fund a daily program rate above the rate 2 rate to provide ancillary services, which are listed: direct care, nursing, administrative supports, crisis supports, referrals, and some flexible supports to try to maximize the independence and promote the independent living for more acute individuals in this contract. This is a renewal. The rate's unchanged at $100.97 per month per person. and the total amount cannot exceed $10,904.54. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Actually, if the board will tolerate it, I'd like to skip the next couple and go to House of Lights because it's the exact same contract as the one we just went over. It's Board and Lodge Plus, and so this is again a funding stream for House of Lights to provide acute coverage for 10 beds for 24-hour direct care, nursing, admin, and again with the goal of increasing independent living for high-need individuals. This is a renewal contract. The daily program rate was increased by 5%, and the last increase for this facility was in 2013, so that drove some of that negotiation. $12.24 per day per person, not to exceed $44,676 for those extra services. And backing up to the Horizon Homes IRTS contract, Intensive Residential Treatment Services. This contract is again offered through our initiative to pay for the daily rate for IRTS treatment for people who do not have medical assistance or may be underinsured. It is a renewal. The daily program rate is set by DHS, and the term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. The next contract is also very similar. Rule 36 Limited Partnership of Duluth contracts with us for grant funds to cover the costs of individuals who do not, again, qualify for MA or are underinsured. The rate is set by DHS, and the term is the same, January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Going down to Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership. This is a contract which allows us to do residential subsidy for 6 scattered sites throughout our community. It pays for both the housing units and also administration of running the program for adults diagnosed with a serious and persistent mental illness. It really focuses on independent living skills and making sure people can maintain their living arrangement for the long term. It's a unique contract where there's $380,000 awarded, but it's to cover a 17-year term, and so every year we bring this back to the board and really just update it and allow for the administrative costs to come out of that pool of funds. The term for this year then would be January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 2017. I guess that's a 2-year contract. Disability services. The first 2 are with Vine. The first contract is for medical assistance transportation. This is largely a pass-through where people have medical services. Vine provides the transportation. Those costs are then billed back through the state. Those rates for the transportation are set by the state, and the term January 1st, 16 through December 31st of 17. And the second contract is for volunteer transportation. The amount for this block grant is $56,124.48. This allows Blue Earth County to cover some of the costs associated with their volunteer transportation program. Primary populations for this contract are the senior citizens and social service consumers who are dependent on transportation assistance. These rates that we pay are set for the transportation mileage itself are set by DHS. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 17. MRCI extended employment and adult daycare. The purpose of this contract is to improve access for employment services for individuals with disabilities from MRCI. Contract for the extended employment was increased by 2% to $113.65 per month per client. Adult daycare rate increased to $2.29 per quarter hour. The rate, the state determines the rate using their rate management system, and the term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. Next 4 contracts are all guardianship contracts, very similar with 4 different providers. So I'm just going to read the providers: Guardianship Services, LLC, Lutheran Social Services, Elder Care, and Habilitative Services. All 4 of these contracts provide both guardianship and conservatorship services to eligible vulnerable adults to satisfy our statutory responsibility. The rates in all 4 contracts are unchanged. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 2017. Administration. There is a letter of response to Meridian Behavioral Health. We had a board work session where we covered some of the due diligence that we did about this request to have Meridian come to our community and possibly open a medication-assisted treatment program for opiate abuse. The letter recommends that we do not move forward with support for this additional program at this time. The decision can be reviewed if a more substantial need with our community is evidenced. The request is for Human Services as delegated authority to sign and send the attached letter. Also, MRCI document scanning. This is our workforce team who provides imaging services to Human Services for all our units. It enables us to fulfill our mandate for record retention schedules. There is an increase of 2% for this renewal contract. The term is January 1st of 16 through December 31st of 16. And finally, the last action item is advisory committee appointments. There is an attachment, well, several attachments that draw your attention to. The first, new appointments: Thad Schunkweiler, District 3 for the Mental Health Task Force; Grace Overly, District 2 Mental Health Task Force. The renewals on the next page: Randall Blazing, District 1 for Human Service Advisory Committee; Peter Bodie, District 4 Social Service Task Force; Jeannie DeMars, District 2 Mental Health Task Force; Jan Fox, District 3 Mental Health Task Force; Brian Guess, District 1, also Mental Health Task Force; Jennifer Lamoureux, District 4 Mental Health Task Force; Karen Lupke, District 1 on Human Service Advisory Committee; Sig Olson, District 2 Mental Health Task Force; Scott Riffer, District 1 Mental Health Task Force; Carrie Robb, District 3 Social Service Task Force; Paige Swanson, District 3, also Social Service Task Force; and Myrtle Westfall, District 5 Mental Health Task Force. There's also a grid on the next page that shows the vacancies in each of the commissioner districts. Just for your information, we're always looking for people that might be interested to serve on any one of these committees.
Is that Mark's district where it's 0?
It's Will.
Oh,
No, it's
Will?
Will's.
Really?
Mine's
Yeah.
got 3.
The recruiter, we call him. That's right.
Huh?
He's the recruiter. The recruiter.
There's no vacancies.
That's
Oh, there's
right. It's a
0
good thing.
vacancies.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
It's hard to read that, okay. That's good.
It's good. It's really
You're
good.
full.
Yes.
Overachiever.
That's what I think, Commissioner, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've
There you
got
go.
I've got 2.
And just a shout out too for youth members. We really
Nice.
like to have youth members.
I saw that. You got one on
too.
that.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's really fun
That's
to have
good.
them be part of it. They bring some extra zip to our meetings, so it's good. The last item I have an information, oh, I'm sorry, those are the action items, Mr. Chair, that I have.
Mr. Chair, might I just jump in here? I should have talked to Phil about this. I didn't realize the Vine Volunteer Transportation Agreement was going to be a 2-year agreement. With some of the discussion on the rural transit program,
That's a good point.
we might want to only do 2016 because there could be changes coming for 2017. So I might suggest we revise this to just a 1-year agreement if
Sure.
that's all right with the
On
department.
the second contract, Bob, would you agree, or MA as well, you think?
Probably just the volunteers
Yeah, so that's
where
second
it's most
contract.
important.
So the motion would be everything on here, but on the Vine, it'd be just a 1-year contract
For the volunteer service.
for volunteer services. You got that,
Makes
Jesse?
Sorry, I didn't see
makes
that
sense.
earlier.
Okay, wishes of the board?
I'll move that.
Second?
That's an amendment then.
With the amendment.
No, it's not
well,
an amendment because that's the motion.
With
Oh, okay.
revision,
Oh,
yeah.
you just
I'll
do that
just-
one,
yeah.
separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the motion.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question then.
Probably get a second. You need a second.
Did somebody get a second?
Did you second it?
Yep,
Oh,
thank you.
All
sorry.
right,
All right.
go ahead, Drew.
I didn't hear you.
Well, so this is the volunteer portion of the program for helping with transit services. I'm just trying to figure out, is the reason we wouldn't do the normal 2-year contract, would that be because that would be affected even if we do go forward with the transit type of thing? Would it affect that volunteer portion?
Right, I believe that because we're looking at a public transit system, the need for this is gonna change pretty dramatically. And so some of these funds might be necessary to be used to augment that new system that's developed. So to have this separate from a county contribution into that rural transit program would seem duplicative.
I don't know how it's duplicative, but I was just curious, because it's a separate program that they've been functioning on for years. I
Right,
just didn't
and
know.
obviously Bob has had lead.
It's not going to hurt anything, it's not gonna hurt Vine, because we're doing it for 2016, okay? And we can but it would give the county the ability to look at it.
Flexibility, you're saying?
Flexibility to look at it for what's gonna happen in 17. We might do the same thing for 17, but with the augment of the transit thing, it gives the county the ability to look at what's happening.
Okay, I just hope it doesn't affect them for their planning. It just kind of, if they're planning out so far, they're not aware of it maybe. I don't know if they're aware of it even then.
The committee meeting that I was at on the 9th.
Yes.
Vine is definitely gonna be part of it. We just don't know what capacity.
Yeah, this is just, gets all worked out.
Well, they're the only one that provides volunteer that I'm aware of in the 3 counties.
Right.
And so that's why it just was concerning to me, because then this helps support their programs.
I think there are other volunteer programs in the other 2 counties, but Vine obviously for Blue Earth and a portion of Nicollet County has played a key role. But I think some of those same services are going to be part of that planning for the rural transit systems.
Oh, okay, so it could be revisited then as far as that goes. I mean, we might find that we still have to do the contract maybe for 17, but maybe it'd be a few less dollars or something like that.
Might be a few more.
Might be more.
Yeah, certainly not suggesting we wouldn't support Vine by this, but I think things are changing enough that at this point to lock into another year of this agreement
specifically
probably would be wiser to do the 1 year and let that planning develop further.
That helps me understand it a little better then.
All right.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I had a question, but I don't, it's not on all this. I don't know when, it just came to mind when we were talking about the mental health and all the groups here, is, we used to have Eclipse, and then there was People's Fair, and whatever did, I mean, I don't know, how did we take care of people like in that kind of situation? I mean, are they some here and there and different ones? I just was curious, because...
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I know the history of it.
That's a flashback in my part.
Yeah, right.
So how old we are.
Was a
We all
acute,
remember that though.
you know, kind of like our...
It was a
what do you call the
suicide,
center we've
they'd
got?
call
Yes.
the suicide center, is what it was, the suicide line.
Mr. Chair, maybe I can...
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. My age again.
You remember
Yeah, so it's really a question for Bob.
I'm too young, Commissioner.
Yeah,
Phil,
it was,
good thing to be.
you weren't at any people's fairs, but I just thought,
I think some of that service need has been addressed by the South Central Crisis Center and, you know, the integration that the Human Service Department has made in the community with the Mayo Health System and those providers. I think it's sort of been absorbed into the larger mental health system as there's been more investment in those dollars. So where it used to be more of a crisis call type of response, I think we have a more robust system that's able to respond to that need.
And actually, I might add, if I can, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, that the crisis call response, like mobile crisis, has been a very huge initiative from DHS, to the point where with our crisis center, we feel like our need for some of that is actually covered, but we do have a whole nother project that Rice County is a fiscal host for that does provide mobile outreach. So I don't know if that helps answer some of the question, but that's a new service that is actually pushed right out from the crisis center. So obviously this contract talks about bringing people to the crisis center with transportation, but there's also a team that can go out in the community and look at crisis and even go to the jail and other things to try to serve that crisis through this mobile pot of funds, but Rice County is the host of that.
All right, real good.
There's
Any more discussion on this motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed. All right. And you have some informational and discussion items.
I do, Mr. Chair. I have just one item in addition to our volume of contracts that also bring forth a lot of good discussion. We have a new performance management system, and there's an attachment in your packet that has a heading of executive summary. And really these are 10 measures from the newly formed Human Service Performance Management System out of DHS. And these are older numbers from 2014, but this is our first set of data, and we'll be getting updated data that I'll bring to your attention as well. The box in this graphic shows an overview of our performance on all the measures that they've established so far, and they show a threshold and they show our performance. The minimum threshold is defined as acceptable performance, so when you see threshold, that's what we're shooting for at a minimum. And then there's also a high level threshold as well. Any county that falls below that threshold, that minimum threshold, needs to complete a performance improvement plan. And I'll just walk through this graphic here quickly. There's 4 outcomes that are defined. The first section is adult and children are safe and secure. And you'll see that there's 2 indicators there: no repeat of child maltreatment within 6 months, no repeat of vulnerable adult maltreatment within 6 months. And we had 100% performance on both of those, so that was a good outcome. The second one, outcome 2, children have stability in their living situation. The first one there, current child support paid, you'll see we're at 69%, and the threshold is 69.7. That also happens to be the only threshold on this list of 10 that didn't require a PIP. So we kind of got by on that one, and I think our performance is improving in that, so I'm hopeful that we'll be above threshold on that. But we did not need to do a PIP on that one just because it's a brand new measure.
Okay.
Children reunified within 12 months, we're above threshold. Outcome 3, children have opportunity to develop their full potential. You'll see the first indicator, children in foster care are placed with relatives, 51.6%, which is well above threshold. Child support cases with paternity established, 104%. Interesting graphic. They take a baseline, and if we get more kids into our system, families with more children, you can actually go over 100%. So that's why it's 104%. They take the snapshot, and then if we have more imports than exports, it's possible to be over 100%. Fourth indicator, people are economically secure. Expedited SNAP applications processed within 1 business day, we're above threshold. Cash assistance and SNAP applications processed timely, above threshold. Child support cases with an order established, well above threshold on that, so we work closely with Pat and County Attorney's Office for that one. We're obviously going to need to team with them on that one where we're right on the brink. And MFIP and DWP, that's Minnesota Family Investment Program, Diversionary Work Program, Self-Support Index, 77.8%, which is above threshold. You'll see 2 new outcome measures, 5 and 6 there. Vulnerable adults have quality of life. People have access to health care and receive effective services are the new measures they're working on. The summary bullet points there is Blue Earth County was above threshold 9 of the 10 measures, and we were above the high performance standard on 6 of those measures. There is a detailed legislative report that's going to be out in the next few weeks, so I plan to bring some of this back to you, hopefully not with too much detail, but just to give you a sense of how we're being measured. I think it's a really good thing that DHS doing this. The staff that are doing this are working in great collaboration with us, which, to be really frank, hasn't always been the case, but they really are looking for reasonableness and saying, how do we start to measure what we do? And obviously, because we deal with people, it's not always easy to find those kind of hardcore objective measures. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for all that.
It must have taken them a while to come up with the threshold or the standards. I don't know how they
acted on the contracts. To act on all the contracts that were presented.
I thought that was what the motion was.
No, it was just for the buying, wasn't it?
No.
No, that
was for everything.
Yeah, that was everything.
I understood it to be all contracts.
It was all contracts.
So
With the revision of the one.
okay, so you included the revision.
Yeah.
It's very confusing to me, because when I asked that question, I asked, was this just for Vine's contract to change it? I didn't understand it was for all of the contracts.
Well,
We
the
didn't make an
pastor
amendment.
always did all the action items at one time, and then
Yeah,
there's
we
just
passed
a
all the action
revision,
items at
so,
one time.
to this one.
I understand that now.
Okay.
But I thought it was an amendment that we were doing to their contracts, and it's printed in the packet as is, and we didn't make an amendment. We just talked about it, but we didn't do anything. So we
What's
didn't know.
printed in the, wasn't the motion. What was printed wasn't the motion. We had changed the motion before we made it.
Including all of them.
Including the
Just
changes.
trying to get a point of clarity here, because I didn't understand that at all.
Okay.
I thought we were voting strictly on Vine's contract, which was pulled out separately, and that we just made it for 1 year, and then we'd go back and do the rest of them.
Okay.
And that's what I understood is going on.
All right.
But anyway.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. And
Thanks,
Bob,
Phil.
we got, did you have something else?
Well, that's why, because I thought we were still voting, and I was going to ask him a question about one of the crisis issues at the county. When I was at the AMC, at that, when they had all those tables up, there's something called Text for Life, a lifeline in your pocket, Canvas Health. It's a suicide prevention resource aimed at serving teens and adults through difficult times. They provide 24/7 text-based crisis counseling, and it can be totally anonymous and at no cost to use. And I have a contact person here, and it's for about, I think it's for 16 counties or something like
Right.
that.
Well,
It's way over, it's all southwestern Minnesota.
Right,
the whole-
it did go statewide, and they got funded statewide this last session.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, so David Lee up in Region 3, up by Duluth area, north of that, he started that locally, and they did a pilot, and then they got funded for the statewide implementation, which is really good. And as we all know, a lot of the younger people, which is what this service targets, use texting rather than calling
That's
a
a good
line or
idea.
anything else, and it has been fantastic. So it's been.
So is it
a real
available here
yes.
in our county?
And so we have it, and it's coordinated. When I talked about, we have mobile outreach, Text for Life, and then obviously our crisis center is kind of our 3 levels
So
of
it's
strategy.
available?
Yes.
Good, because I haven't heard anything about it
Great.
locally.
Yep.
I just thought it'd be nice to get the word out.
Thank you,
Thank
Phil.
you.
Thank you.
Bob?
Phil.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I believe we're on item number 3 then, the Human Resources Agenda. We have 2 action items this morning. The first one is to consider approval of the recommended band and grade adjustments. There is a memo in your packet that outlines the recommended changes. We have 9 positions that were forwarded to Fox Lawson for review. They have subsequently recommended that 5 positions be adjusted. The board addressed one of those back in October for environmental services, and so the other 4 are being brought forward today for your consideration.
Wishes of the board?
Approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed.
The second item then is authorization for the county administrator to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Minnesota Teamsters Public and Law Enforcement Employees Union, local number 320. This would be a memorandum of understanding to allow the employees to participate in a healthcare savings plan. If they have over 25 years of service, all of their accumulated vacation time would be converted into that healthcare savings plan. This is actually helpful to the county in terms of some of the tax implications, but also benefits the employees mostly in terms of healthcare costs that they might incur after they leave employment with the county.
Wishes of the board?
I move approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed.
The informational items, so just point out that Michael Stahlberger has been selected as the new Director of Taxpayer Services, and so we have initiated recruitment to fill a Deputy Director of Property Assessments as a result of that promotion. We also have filled a medium equipment operator. We've had a financial worker that's completed employment and have begun recruitment to refill that position. We had a transfer of a senior account clerk to an environmental services position, and so we've begun recruitment to refill that senior account clerk. We had a promotion of a medium equipment operator to a heavy equipment operator, and subsequently initiated recruitment to refill that position. And then we have a couple of employees that have completed their probationary period and are eligible for salary adjustments as such.
All right. Thank you very much.
Was there a copy of those band and grades in here? Was I?
Yes.
Thought I had it.
Yeah, it was
Right underneath.
Right underneath where we were at.
directly
Just
underneath.
right there?
Yep.
It's page 29,
Page
if that's
29.
helpful.
Okay.
All right. And we already voted on the action. So
If you want to go to item number 4 in your packet is the 2016 levy. There is a resolution included that's required by Minnesota Statute 275.07 certifying the 2016 property tax levy. As you are aware, Brewer County staff began working on the budget in April of this year. We had meetings with department heads in the summer, as well as work sessions with the board throughout the summer. The levy being proposed amounts to $30,387,243. This is 1.9% higher than what was assessed in 2015. And so I'm recommending the 2016 property tax levy of $30,387,243 be certified to the Blue Earth County Finance Director.
wishes of the board.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, thanks for working with the board and getting that, down to where we got it. And I think some of us know some of the reasons why that happened, but it's a good thing. If you look over the last, I don't know how many years here, Blue Earth County, we've worked hard to keep the levy on all the taxpayers and including the businesses as low as we can. It's still providing good services, you know what I mean? And
good point.
Yeah. It's always, I do wish that the document, just for public, so they would see it, that it's only an increase of 1.9. That would say that, so they could see it, but otherwise they gotta figure it out on their own.
All right.
It's stated, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's here.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 5 in the packet is the 2016 proposed budget. Minnesota Statute 375A.06 requires the county administrator to prepare and submit an annual budget and long-range capital expenditure program to the county board. As I mentioned previously, staff have been working on this budget since April and has been reviewed a number of times. As such, I'm recommending approval of the resolution regarding the 2016 budget, which projects expenditures at $99,911,191.
Wishes of the board.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is salary adjustments for our non-union employees, supervisors, county department heads, elected officials. As been our practice in the past, the recommended increase is the same as what has been negotiated for our labor unions. This is a 2.5% general wage adjustment that would be effective January 1st of 2016. I would just point out that the county commissioner salary, which is required to be noted in our minutes by the state auditor for 2016, would be $35,554.83. So I'm recommending approval of those adjustments.
Wishes of the board.
I'll move approval.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Just thinking about that 2.5% wage increase. We know, just want to say that we know that next year it might be different because we don't know what's happening yet in 17, 18, there may be some changes. Cost of health care is going way up. And I just want to state that Social Security has, because of the law they passed not too long ago, has proposed zero COLA for everybody on that fixed income. And I don't know if counties ever get behind that, but I think that affects everybody. When people on a fixed income like that, we know darn well things have gone up a little bit. I think it's a sad day that people on Social Security can't get some kind of an increase. Now, I think there's some people in the legislature, in our federal government, that are proposing a one-time amount of money to help make that up, because they can't change the law. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? And that's passed.
Item number 7 in your packet is a memo again outlining the per diem for county board members to participate in meetings that are assigned. This is a requirement that we establish that per diem rate annually. I'm recommending no change to the per diems for 2016.
Wishes of the board?
Move for approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed.
Item number 8 in the packet then are recommended renewals of tobacco licenses. Actually, there is a revised sheet that's been placed at your seats. We did get a couple of additional tobacco license renewal forms after the packet was issued, so I believe there are 7 now that, or actually 6 that have been processed and are ready to be approved.
Okay. Wishes of the board?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed.
I would note, just for the record, that we do have 2 that are outstanding, and so we'll be following up with those to try and get them resolved.
All right. And
Aviance?
We have a couple of other items. First up is item number 9 in your packet, which is the appointment of the County License Bureau Director. With Patty O'Connor's leaving her capacity, we need to reappoint someone to fill that role, with Mike Stahlberger having been selected as the new Director of Taxpayer Services. I'm requesting that the board appoint him as the Blue Earth County License Bureau Director effective January 1st of 2016.
So moved.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
Item number 10 then is Community Corrections Advisory Committee appointments for 2016 and 17. There's a list of community members that we're recommending be appointed to that advisory committee, and so ask the board support for that.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Go ahead.
One question. Don't we have a commissioner assigned to this too, that's on the board? Or not?
I'm on.
Yeah,
Oh, Vance?
I just wondered why their name was not
I say it was
there,
Mark.
so I just thought they should have
Because
one
you're
there.
not appointing me
Yeah.
except for,
Yeah.
you do that in January.
I suppose.
Yeah, this is,
Your name will still show up on there.
these are the citizen
This is
appointments.
citizens.
All right.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed.
Item number 11 then is a similar request for environmental services. All of these committee members are eligible for reappointment and have indicated a desire for another term. So we're recommending the individuals listed on that tab for reappointment.
I'll move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
There should be that, actually, Miss Jan Fox, the address, she moved. She's actually on right off Pole Road in those, what you want to call, not really
Still in
Section
Blue Earth
8.
County
Yeah,
though, right?
still, yeah.
All
She
right.
just moved though.
Okay.
She's off of Pole Road there.
We'll let the folks in environmental
Yeah.
services know that then.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed.
Item number 12 in your packet, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, is a contract amendment for Avians LLC to provide jail food services. Staff have negotiated a 1.2% increase on that contract. The contract period is December 1st of this year through November 30th of 2016.
Wishes of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And that's passed.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 13 then is the financial status report for November 30th. This is the 11th month of our 12-month fiscal year. You'll see that our total revenues are at about 81% of our budget, and our expenditures are a little less than 80% of our budgeted amount. Some of the areas that are lagging a little bit behind are in those state and federal revenue lines, as well as our contract expenditure lines. A lot of that is public works items that don't seem to be coming to fruition this year. You know, we anticipated a considerable amount of bridge bonding dollars that were not allocated by the legislature, so that's contributed to some of the variance that we see there. Overall, though, our total revenues at the end of November are exceeding our total expenses, and so I anticipate that will come well within our budget. But again, I will remind the board that we did budget a deficit for 2015, and so we're likely to see the December numbers show a deficit, but probably a smaller deficit than we anticipated, so that's positive.
Good.
On the enterprise fund, which is the landfill, you will see that we're currently in a minor deficit situation there. That's not unexpected with the construction of the additional cell out there. Those expenses roll through here, and so as we build some reserves over the years in this particular enterprise fund, we use it when we have these major investments that occur there. So again, nothing to worry about there. Cash balances again continue to be slightly down from other years, which has been part of the board's goal to see that fund balance reduced to some degree. But all in all, I think the financial outlook is still very positive.
All right.
Any questions?
Is there anything else?
Thanks, Bob.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. Motion to move to Friesen's for lunch.
Well, I'd like to say one thing if I could, Mr. Chair.
You can always say one
I
thing.
know. Well, I want to thank you for serving as our chair for the last year.
Thank you.
Vance, and for, you know, putting up with all four of us here, you know, and for any of my interruptions or anything like that, please forgive me, but I just wanted to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Job well done, man.
Yep,
Job well done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I'm, you know, I've been blessed to have a great board and a great staff, and, you know, we look forward to next year and letting Kip take over in this chair.
Oh, is that who's coming up next?
So, but we are truly blessed in Blue Earth County, and to have the staff we have. I believe we have 425 plus of the best employees in the state of Minnesota, and that makes our job much easier. So, all right. Motion to adjourn to
Recess.
Recess.
I
To,
always
where are
get
we
that
going?
wrong. To Friesen's.
Friesen's Bakery
I'll move, I guess, yeah.
and Soup Bar.
All right.
I'll check out.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Second.